Good morning, guys. So I hereby welcome Anwar Asar, who is an associate professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, LBS College Engineering. We are privileged to have you here in this platform of ASAP under Higher Education Department, Government of Kerala. This session will be a total of 1 hour duration, out of which it is divided into two parts. In the first 30 minutes, there will be 20 minutes of online class, followed by question and answer session, and the same will be repeated thereafter. I once again welcome you, Anwar Sir, to the class.
Thank you, Srideep. Welcome, students. Welcome to the webinar series during this lockdown period. In this lecture, I am going to give an introduction to public key crypto system and RSA algorithm. So this is the fifth module of IT 402 cryptography and cyber security. So in first module, we have seen the mathematics necessary for the cryptography subject. And second module, there is introduction to cryptography. And third and fourth module covers the first type of crypto system, that is symmetric crypto system. That is, we have seen some traditional crypto systems. Then in fourth module, we have seen data encryption standard and advanced encryption standard, that is DES and AES. They all comes in symmetric crypto system. Okay, so here I'm going to present on public key crypto system, that is also called asymmetric crypto system. Okay, so we can start with the types of cryptography. So first type is symmetric crypto system, that is we have seen in third and fourth module. So what is symmetric crypto system? Okay. Actually, what is cryptography? That is, we are converting a plain text to, that is an intelligent text to an intelligent format. Okay, that is, we are converting a plain text to a ciphertext. And ciphertext, if somebody or even an attacker sees a ciphertext, he cannot identify what is inside that text. That is the idea behind cryptography. Okay, so in symmetric crypto system, why it is called symmetric crypto system? So that is for converting the plain text to ciphertext, we are using a key. That is, the conversion is done using a key. So in crypto system, there is conversion means there are two processes. So from the sender side, the sender converts the plain text to ciphertext. Okay, that process is called encryption. And this ciphertext is unsecure channel. So everyone can see the ciphertext, but nobody is able to identify what is the content of ciphertext, what is the original content of ciphertext. That is the meaning. So in the receiving side, the recipient or the receiver converts the ciphertext back to plain text to get the idea. Okay, so both the algorithm and this receiving side conversion process is called decryption. So both these algorithms uses keys. This encryption, decryption is done using some keys. So in symmetric crypto system, there is a single key or single secret key. This key is always kept secret. Okay, so in symmetric crypto system, there is a single secret key which is shared between two persons, here the sender and the receiver. Okay, the next, and this encryption decryption are done using the same key. And there is a question: if there are n participating entities, what will be the number of keys? Okay, it will be n into n minus 1 by 2. That is, we have seen this equation somewhere else. That is, consider it as a complete graph with n vertices. That is, there are n participating entity means every two persons communicate each other. Okay, for communicating each other, every two persons should have a separate key. So if the participating entities are considered as nodes, then there will be an edge between every pair of nodes or every pair of vertices. So this becomes a complete graph. So the number of edges in the complete graph is n into n minus 1 by 2. And this symmetric crypto system is based on substitution permutation of symbols. Okay, so here see this figure. This is a symmetric crypto system. So the key source, there should be some key source. Usually the sender will be the key source, and sender is generating the key and passing to the receiver through a secure channel. Okay, that we can see that pipe means that is a secure channel, and the ciphertext is passed through an unsecure channel. And there is a cryptanalyst. He is viewing the ciphertext, and he is always trying to find the original text, that is X cap, and the key K cap. Okay, so at the receiving side, the receiver is decrypting the ciphertext using the same secret key. That is symmetric crypto system. So the second type of cryptography is asymmetric crypto system. Here in asymmetric crypto system, there is a personal secret, that is a private key, which is not shared. There is a private key is known only to that participant. And encryption and decryption are done using two different keys. Okay, so here for every private key, there is a corresponding public key belong to. And if there are n participating entities, then what will be the number of keys? In a symmetric crypto system, it was n into n minus 1 by 2, but here it is only 2n. There is n private keys that is known to the participants only, and n public keys that is known to everybody. Okay, here see the figure. Here the sender is having the plain text, and sender is encrypting the plain text using one of the key. That is any of these two keys can be used for encryption. Then the corresponding other key should be used to decrypt this ciphertext. Okay, so here in this example, the sender is encrypting using the recipient's public key. It's in blue color, and this ciphertext is passed through and secure channel, and at the receiving side, the recipient decrypts using recipient's private key. That is, recipient private key is known only to the recipient. Okay, and this his publicized. So that is why the sender encrypts using recipient's public key. So they're in asymmetric crypto system. This asymmetric crypto system is mainly based on applying mathematical functions to numbers. That is, it is made secure by providing mathematically hard problems. There is a security is given to asymmetric system, crypto system through mathematically hard problems, and this is considered as more secure from cryptanalysis than the corresponding symmetric crypto system. Okay, next. And what is the mathematically hard problems, or how this asymmetric crypto system means is said to be secure? That is, it means it is computationally infeasible to find the private key knowing only the algorithm and the public key. Okay, because the cryptography algorithm is the same. It is known to everybody, and the public key for every participant, the public key is publicized. That is, everyone knows the public key of all others. So it is computationally infeasible to find the private key by knowing the algorithm and the public key. But it is easy to encrypt or decrypt the messages when the relevant, that is the corresponding. Suppose it is encrypted using private key, then everyone can decrypt using the corresponding public key. So it is computationally easy to decrypt or encrypt messages when the relevant key is available. Okay. Then next comes to the components of public key crypto system. So first thing is there are two related keys. These are called the asymmetric keys. There is a public key and private key, and this is used to perform complementary operations. And this is used to perform complementary operations like encryption, decryption. Then other operation is signature generation and signature verification. Then what is the use of public key certificate? So here every participating entity is having, there is a private key that is known only to that participant, and his public key known to everybody. Then what is the use of public key certificate? Means that is only the authorized persons can participate in the communication. Okay. So he should have some certificate. I think you have noticed this during some sites. While we are going to some sites, there may be a message. The certificate is not trusted. Okay, or unsecured site. Likewise, for every participating entities, he should be having some public key certificate if he is using the public key crypto system. So, what is a public key certificate? It is a digital document issued and digitally signed by the private key of the certification authority. So, there are some certification authorities. Okay, and the certificate is certified by the certification authority. So, how he can certify? Then the certification authority is also having two keys, public key and private key. And he is signing the certificate means he is signing with his private key. So how we can identify this certificate is issued by that particular authority? That is, we can encrypt that certificate with the authority's public key. Okay. There is a digital document issued and digitally private certification authority that binds the name of a subscriber to a public key. Okay. This tells this is a public key of that particular participant, and that is certified by a certificate authority. So the certificate indicates that the subscriber identified the certificate as sole control and access to the corresponding private key. That is, his private key is only accessible to that particular party only. So two more components there. There is a public key cryptographic algorithm. So these are the encryption and decryption algorithms. They uses two keys, public and private key. And next is public key infrastructure. So the complete system. So this is a set of policies, processes, server platform, software, workstations, etc. Use the purpose of administrating certificates and public-private key pairs. So previously it was certificate authority, and this authority comes under this infrastructure. Okay, including the ability to issue, maintain, and revoke the public certificate. So there are total four components. That is the keys, the certificating authority, then cryptographic algorithms, and public key infrastructure. Okay. Then next comes the ingredients of public key crypto system. Okay. So there are total 6 ingredients. First is the plain text. That's all we know. Plain text. Then encryption algorithm. Then public and private keys. That is third and fourth are public and private keys. Then fifth one is ciphertext and the decryption algorithm. Decryption algorithm. That is the same thing. There is nothing to explain. Ciphertext and decryption algorithm. There are total 6 ingredients. So the essential steps in public key crypto system. That is, this asymmetric crypto system is also known as public key crypto system. That is why I wrote it as PKC, public key crypto system. Okay. So here, each user generates a pair of keys. That is, if there are n users or n participants, there will be 2 n keys. That is what every user is generating 2 keys. His own private key and his own public key he is generating and publicize. Okay. Each user generates a pair of keys to be used for encryption and decryption, and each user places one of the 2 keys in public register or other accessible file. That is what we said. It is available in the public key certificates. Okay. This is public key. The other key is kept private, and each user maintains a collection of public keys obtained from others. That is, every user is having the public key of all others, because if he wants to communicate with any other person, he can encrypt using the public key of the other person. Okay. Here there is the same thing. Here Bob is the sender and Alice is the receiver. And if Bob wishes to send a confidential message to Alice, then how it can be encrypted. The message is confidential. So here also we can ensure the security goals like confidentiality, authentication, etc. So suppose here we want to ensure confidentiality. Then how we can encrypt the message? So confidentiality means the message is not known to any cryptanalyst during transit. Okay. So Bob wishes to send a confidential message to Alice. Then Bob encrypts the message using Alice public key. Okay. It is encrypted using Alice public key. That means it can be decrypted with the corresponding private key only. And this private key is available only to Alice. Okay. So suppose this is encrypted using Bob's private key. What will happen? So everybody in transmission can see the message, they see the ciphertext, and this is since this is encrypted using the private key of Bob, and everybody knows the public key of Bob, everybody can see the corresponding plain text. Okay. So if you want to ensure confidentiality, then the sender should encrypt the message using recipient's public key. Okay. So when Alice receives the message, she only can decrypt. She decrypts it using her private key. No other recipient can decrypt the message because only Alice knows her private key. So this is a figure. So first one is public key cryptography. It has to provide authentication service, the authentication goal. So here PRA and PUA. PRA is the private key of participant A and PUA is the public key of participant A. Okay. So here, the first one is authentication. That is authentication means the receiver has to ensure that the message came from that authenticated person only. That is who he is claimed to be. Okay. So suppose here Bob is sending message to Alice, and while receiving the message at Alice's side, she should know this is from Bob only. Okay. Then how she can ensure? Then in order to ensure authentication, Bob is encrypting the message using his private key. Okay. So his private key means everyone knows his public key. So everyone can see. But the ultimate aim is Alice should identify that the message came from Bob only. So the corresponding private key, public key of it is decrypted using the public key of Bob. Clear. So next is note to provide the secrecy, that is confidentiality. That is as we have seen in the previous slide. This is encrypted using PUB. That is B means receiving side. It is encrypted using public key of Alice. And at the receiving side, Alice is decrypting using her private key. Yeah, next is public key cryptography. That is to ensure the security goals, both the security goals, confidentiality and authentication. There is secrecy and authentication. Then how we can do? That is Bob is sending the message to Alice, and both has to ensure confidentiality and authentication. Okay. So first we can say confidentiality. Then how we can provide confidentiality? That is here second encryption algorithm. That is this is doing first. First it is signing. That is signing means first it is encrypted using the private key of sender. Okay, private key of sender. Then it can be decrypted using the sender's public key. Then the encrypted message is Y. The original plain text is X, and the encrypted message encrypted using the private key of sender is Y, and that Y is encrypted using the public key of receiver. Okay, so the message becomes Z. That is a ciphertext that is passed to the receiving side. So here we are applying the encryption algorithm 2 times, and first we are using the private key of sender, and second time we are using the public key of receiver. Okay, then it is passed to the destination, So it is receiving at the destination. So suppose during the transmission, everybody is seeing the message set. So is it possible to get the original message? So in order to get it back to Y, what is required? It needs the private key of B, but the private key is available only to B, and some others, that is C, D, E, F, G, etc. They are seeing the message set. So nobody else is able to see the message Y. Okay, if they are getting Y, they are able to decrypt Y back to X. Okay, so here it ensures confidentiality. Then there is a destination, that the receiver B decrypts using her own private key, KRB. Now it becomes Y, and this Y is now only available to whom? The receiver, that is Alice. Okay, B. So Alice now decrypts it using the public key of sender Bob. So using this two encryption and two decryption, it can provide both confidentiality and authentication. So what are the applications of public key crypto systems? These applications are divided into mainly three categories. That is encryption, decryption, as we have seen. The next is digital signatures. That is to sign the message. That is signature generation and signature verification. We can use public key crypto system. And key exchange. That is actually this symmetric crypto system is fast compared to asymmetric crypto system. But the problem associated with symmetric crypto system is sharing of the symmetric key. Okay, so mainly for exchanging this symmetric key, we are using public key crypto system. Okay, that is key exchange. Two sides cooperate to exchange a session key. Next, we are moving to RSA. So before moving to RSA, let us revisit the necessary mathematics for RSA. So first is Euler's phi function. That is also called torsion function. This is the function that counts the positive integers up to a given integer n that are relatively prime to n, and it is denoted as phi of n. So here is the then star. There is a set that is called the reduced residue moduli n system. The set is then star contains all the numbers from 1 to n minus 1 or 0 to n minus 1 which are relatively prime to n. Okay, that is Zn star, reduced residue mode n system, and phi n is the cardinality of Zn star. Okay, so that is how many numbers less than n are relatively prime to n. That is the meaning. That is Euler's torsion function. Phi n is the cardinality of Zn star. Here consider the example, n is equal to 9. So Zn star will contain 1. That is GCD of 1 and 9 is 1. So 2 is there, 1 is there, 2 is there. Then 3 is not there because GCD of 3 and 9 is 3. 4 is there, 5 there, 6 is not there because 3 is the GCD of 6 and 9. 7, 8. Okay. So number of elements will be equal to 4. There is 1, 2, 4, 5. So I think it is 5. 3, 2 into 3. Yeah, this is 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Total 6. Okay, there is phi n is 8. That is Zn star contains total 6 elements. Then Fermat's little theorem. So Fermat's little theorem says that if P is a prime number, then for any integer a that is divisible by p, then a raised to p minus 1 that is not divisible by p. That means this is a and p are relatively prime. Okay, so a raised to p minus 1 is congruent to 1 mod p. See, first statement, and second statement is a raised to p is congruent to a mod p. That is, we are multiplying both sides with a. So a raised to p minus 1 into a, that is a raised to p, which is congruent to a mod p. Okay, you can consider this example: a is equal to 2 and p equal to 7, and you can see the result. Okay. The next is Euler's theorem. Because we are using this Euler's theorem in RSA algorithm. So this is generalization of Fermat's little theorem. In Fermat's theorem, the modulus is a prime number p. Here we are considering the modulus n. N is any integer. It may be prime or composite number. Okay. Then it can be written as a raised to phi of n. Because if modulus is a prime number p, then phi of p will be equal to p minus 1. Okay. Because all the numbers less than n, 1 to n minus 1 will be relatively prime to p. So phi of p will be equal to p minus 1. Okay. So a raised to p minus 1 is congruent to 1 mod p. Here we are taking n as any integer. It may be prime or non-prime. So there are again two statements. A raised to phi of n is congruent to 1 mod n, and a raised to k into phi of n plus 1 is congruent to a mod n. These are the two statements. Okay. Then we have seen that this asymmetric crypto system is based on mathematically hard problems. Then what is mean by mathematically hard problems? Here we can see two mathematically hard problems that is that we are using in our public key crypto system. The first one is discrete logarithmic problem. Logarithm problem. Then what is discrete logarithmic problem? So here we are given a multiplicative cyclic group. Let capital letter G is a cyclic group. Okay. And small letter g is the generator in this group. So every element in the group G, capital letter G, can be written as h is equal to g raised to x in G. Then x is the discrete log of h to the base G. Okay. The next, it is not always hard. Then when it comes to be hard, that is the hardness comes only if the group is, or it depends on the groups. Okay. When it becomes hard, because if the group is ZP star, we know ZP star means it is reduced residue mode P system. So P means it is a prime. Then who all belongs to ZP star? ZP star connects 1 to P minus 1. Okay. All elements from 1 to P minus 1 belongs to the reduced residue mode P system, because P is prime, and all elements less than P are relatively prime to P. So, and ZP star, the group, cyclic group should be ZP star, and P should be a safe prime. And what is mean by a safe prime? That is a prime number which equals 2q plus 1. That is, every prime number can be written as 2q plus 1, where q is a large prime number. That is the condition for being a safe prime. And the discrete logarithmic problem becomes a hard problem only when ZP star, where P is a safe prime. Okay. Then second hard problem considered in PKC is prime factorization problem. So what is prime factorization problem? That is, we are given a composite number. Okay. So prime factorization is a way of writing a composite number as product of prime numbers. And all we know that this is not hard. Only when it is a small, that is, it is product of small primes. Okay. There is a prime factor is a small. Then it is not hard. And it becomes hard. If n is the product of small primes, and it becomes hard if n is a product of very large primes. Okay. Because here in RSA, we are going to use two primes that are each is of length 512 bits. 512 bits means each prime is of 154 decimal digits. Okay, that means it is very, very large. Okay, next. So what is a function? There in mathematics a rule that associates or maps one element in a set A to one element in a set B. Okay, that is a function. Then what is an invertible function? A function that associates each element in the range with exactly one element in the domain. That is, the function is said to be invertible. Then what is an one-way function? It's a function that satisfies. It is easy to compute. F is easy to compute. That is, suppose we are given x, and it is easy to compute y is equal to f of x. It is difficult to compute its inverse. Even if it is invertible, it should be difficult to convert f inverse. That means if we are given y and we are asked to compute x, so it should be computationally infeasible to calculate x from the given y. That's a one-way function. Okay. So next is there is an example. This we are given two large primes. Okay, that is each p and q are of 154 decimal digits each. So we are given p and q, then we can compute n equal to p into q. This is easy. But if we are given n, not p and q, is it easy to compute p and q back from n? No, it is difficult. Okay, that is a one-way function. Next comes trapdoor one-way function. So this is a one-way function with one additional property. That is, in the one-way function we are only given x, given y, and we are asked to compute x. So it is we are not able to easily compute x from y. But here we are given y and also a secret. Something. We are given y and a trapdoor, that is some secret. Then we can compute x easily from y and a given secret. Okay, that is a trapdoor function. So here example is we are given x, k and n, and we are asked to compute y is equal to, there is a function f is equal to x raised to k mod n. Okay, we can compute. Then next, suppose we are given y, k and n. Is it possible to compute x? No, it is difficult. There is answer, but it is difficult to compute. But suppose we are given y, n and k dash, such that k into k dash is equal to 1 mod phi of n. But here k dash is called the multiplicative inverse of k moduli phi of n. Okay, that is, if we are given k dash, y and n, then by applying Euler function, Euler theorem, we can compute x is equal to, that is this is the application of Euler's theorem. So we can compute x as y raised to k dash mod n. This is there in RSA. We can see its proof there. Okay, the next. Then RSA algorithm. So this is asymmetric key cryptographic algorithm. The name RSA is given by taking the first name of its inventors, Reversed, Shamir and Adleman. Okay. They are Turing Award winners for this same algorithm, Reversed, Shamir and Adleman. It uses prime numbers. This algorithm is based on the fact that it is easy to find and multiply large prime numbers together, but it is extremely difficult to factor their product. Okay. The private and public keys in RSA are based on very large prime numbers. We can see what are the what is private key and what is public key. And the real challenge in RSA is the selection and generation of the public key and private key. So the RSA algorithm is, first step, we can choose two prime numbers p and q and calculate n as p into q. Okay, we can calculate. Then calculate phi of n. That is, phi of n is, since n is equal to p into q, both are prime numbers. So phi of n is equal to phi of p into phi of q, that is p minus 1 into q minus 1. Okay. P and q are prime numbers. So phi of p is equal to p minus 1 and phi of q is equal to q minus 1. So calculate phi of n as p minus 1 into q minus 1. Then select the public key. That is here small letter e. Here the small letter e is called the public key or the encryption key, such that it is relatively prime to phi of n. Okay. So that is we are choosing some e that is relatively prime to phi of n. Then calculate the private key d from this e. What is the property of d? This is the multiplicative inverse of e mod phi of n. Okay. That is d is calculated as the multiplicative inverse of e mod phi of n. We can use extended Euclid to find the multiplicative inverse. Extended Euclid algorithm to find the multiplicative inverse of e mod phi of n. Okay. So here the pair n comma e is known as the public key, and key pqd, and we can say only d is the private key, because private key is known to the participant who generated these keys. Okay. So d is the private key, or we can say p, q, and d as private. There is nobody is knowing p, q, and d. Then the encryption algorithm and decryption algorithm using RSA. Here Alice. Okay, we can say from the sender side Alice, and at the receiving side Bob. So this key is generated by the receiver. Okay, Bob generated the keys, public keys and private keys, because we have only one set of keys, so it is available to the receiver. So Bob generated the keys. Then Alice, from the sender side, Alice chooses the plaintext P. Okay. Then she knows the public key of recipient, that is n comma e, and ciphertext is computed as c is equal to p raised to e mod n. Okay, so that is the ciphertext. C is equal to p raised to e mod n. So the ciphertext is received at receiver side. Bob receives the ciphertext. Then the ciphertext C is there is one mistake. Sorry, it is decrypted using the public key of. Okay, sorry, that's same. The receiver received the ciphertext C that was encrypted using the public key of recipient. Okay, it was encrypted using public key of Bob. Then the private key available to Bob is D. So he decrypts C as C using D as P is equal to C raised to D mod n. So this is modular arithmetic. We have seen this all modular arithmetic in first module. Okay. Here is an example. Step 1. Choose two large prime numbers P and Q. So for computational easy computation, we are choosing small primes. But in actual RSA algorithm, it is said that the size of P and Q should be at least 154 decimal digits. Okay. So here P is equal to 7. That is a prime number, and Q is equal to 17. There is another prime number. So calculate n equal to P into Q. So n is equal to 7 to 17. That is 119. Calculate phi of n as P minus 1 into Q minus 1. That is 6 into 16, 96. Then select the public key. That is the encryption key E, such that it is relatively prime to phi of n. That is any number which is relatively, any number less than n which is relatively prime to phi of n. Okay, that is 96. We have chosen E as phi of n is 96, and here we are choosing E as 5. Okay, that is because the 96 is having factors 2, 2, 2, etc. and 3, and we have to choose a number which is do not having the factors 2 and 3. So we are choosing E as 5. That is up to the participating entity. Okay, he is choosing E as 5. Yes. Next, this is step 5 actually. Calculate the private key D. That is the decryption key. That is the multiplicative inverse of E. Okay. The condition is D into E mod phi of n is congruent to 1 or equal to 1. That is here D into 5 mod 96 is equal to 1. Okay. So using the extended Euclid algorithm, we will get D as 77. So here the public key is 119, that is n is equal to p into q, 7 into 17, 119, and e, that is 5, and the private key is 77. And this is available to, this private key is available to Bob, that he is the recipient. Okay. Next, the same example, encryption and decryption process. So here the plain text is chosen as 10, and that is the condition is the plain text p should be less than n. Okay, that is the condition. And public is 119 and 5. So c is equal to 10. P raised to e. P is 10 and e is 5. So 10 raised to 5 mod 119, that is equal to 40. Okay, so c is 40. P is 10 and c is 40, and it is passed to the receiver. So decryption, that is the receiver side, ciphertext received is 40, and the private key available with the receiver is 77. And P is calculated as P is equal to 40 raised to 77. Okay, you have to do. There is you have to do continuous, that is first multiplication over the modulo 119, and you have to find the answer. So the answer is 10. Okay, that is the original plain text. Here many examples are available in your textbook. So kindly go through that examples, because during exams maybe these examples are asked for 50 marks, 20 marks, and 10 marks, etc. Okay, so next is the proof of RSA. So here I have provided two proofs. That is, first one is D is the unique multiplicative inverse of E. That is the first proof. That is, you have to go through it, because in your textbook only the second proof is available. So yeah, let us see what is there. So we have taken E such that E and phi of n are co-prime. Okay, so there exists a unique integer D such that ED mod phi of n is equal to E. Then assume that D is not co-prime. Thus here we are going to prove that D is a co-prime to phi of n, and that is unique. That's what we have to prove. But here first we are assuming that D is not a co-prime, and not a co-prime means what? That is, if it is a co-prime, its GCD is 1. GCD of D comma phi of n will be 1. But if it is not a co-prime, there will be an integer t other than 1. That is the GCD of D and phi of n. So we can write it as D is equal to T1 into D. That is, there is a common factor T in D and phi of n. That is, D is equal to C1 into T, and phi of n is equal to C2 into T. Okay, so ED into phi of n equal to 1. That is, ED is divisible by 4. Yeah, then when ED is divided by phi of n, it gives a remainder of 1. So ED can be written as C3 into phi of n plus 1 for some integer C3. So this can be written as CE into C1 into T is equal to, that is ED. E into C1 into T. D is C1 into T is equal to C3 into C2 into T plus 1. That is C3 into phi of n plus 1. C3. This C3, and phi of n is C2 into T plus 1. Okay. So we can take the first term left side, first term to the left side. So T is common. T into E into C1 minus C3 into C2 is equal to T, equal to 1. So the product is 1. That means these are all integers. So both are 1. Okay. So T is also 1. And hence it is proved that if T is, the GCD is 1 means they are co-prime. That is, our assumption is not correct. Yeah, because students, because since we are running out of time, you can go through the proof of RSA. This is quite simple. And if you have any doubts, you can ask at any time. Because in this second proof, we are showing that the same plain text is received at the receiving side. That is, the receiver is decrypted to get the same plain text. Okay, that is what the second proof tells. And here the attacks in RSA are brute force attack, that is trying all possible private keys. And usually the smallest key is 1024 bits long. And usually the key size is from 1024 bits to 2048 bits. So trying all possible keys means it is not possible to find all possible keys. Okay. The next is mathematical attacks. That is, first one is factor into 2 primes. That is not easy task. Then determine 5fn directly. That is hard as 5 prime factorization. Then determine d directly. That is same as both first and 2. Okay, as hard as factorizing n into p and q. Next. So next is the major attack in RSA, that is called the timing attack. So what is timing attack? And this is I think this is the last slide. So determine a private key by keeping track of how long a computer takes to decipher a message, that is decrypt a message. And this is based on the first exponentiation algorithm. That is, if the bits are zeros, it takes less computation, and if the bits are 1 in the encryption key, it takes more computation. So by analyzing the time taken to compute for each bits, the cryptanalyst can identify, that is, he can determine the possible keys. Okay, that is the timing attack. That is, whenever a bit is 1, the algorithm has more computations to do and takes more time. This is the countermeasures, how we can overcome these timing attacks. That is, ensure that all exponentiations take the same time before returning a result. Okay, that is our exponentiation, but this can degrade the performance. At some random delay, and this also degrade the performance. And blinding, that is, multiply the ciphertext. That is a possible countermeasure. Multiply the ciphertext by a random number before performing exponentiation. And in this way, the attacker does not know the input to the exponentiation algorithm. And that is the steps shows. Here we are choosing R as a secret, that is between 1 and n-1, and C1, that is, the receiver receives C, and C1, receiver multiplies C with R raised to E mod n. So P1 is equal to C1 raised to D mod n, and T is obtained as P1 into R inverse mod n. Okay, this is the possible countermeasure against the timing attack. Thank you.